For 300 years, this is how people kept the moths out of their clothes, not with a chemical, with a tree. And then, in the space of a single generation, we threw all of that away and we replaced it with a little white ball of poison that smells like something died in the closet. A poison that has since been banned across the whole of Europe for what it does to the human body, and most of all for what it does to small children. We took the thing that was safe and threw it out. We kept the thing that was dangerous and put it in the drawer next to the baby clothes. I am going to show you exactly how cedar works, why it worked for 300 years, and how to make it work in your own home this week, including the mistakes almost everybody makes with it, the mistakes that make folks say it doesn't work when the truth is they were never using it right. And then I'm going to tell you the part that ought to make you a little angry, which is the real reason we gave up something this good for something that poor. Stay with me. By the end of this, you will understand something about moths that will change how you store every piece of clothing you own, and it will not cost you much more than the price of a bag of wood shavings. But before any of that, I have to tell you the one thing that almost nobody understands about moths. Because if you do not understand this, nothing else I tell you will work, and you will keep losing your good sweaters year after year and never quite know why. Here it is. The moth you see fluttering around your closet. That little pale moth bumping against the light. That moth is not eating your clothes. It cannot. It does not even have a working mouth. An adult clothes moth cannot eat a single thread of wool if it wanted to, because it has no mouth to eat with. All it does, in the short couple of weeks it lives, is fly and mate and lay eggs. That is its whole purpose. It is not there to eat your sweater. It is there to lay its young on your sweater. And it is the young that do the damage. When those eggs hatch, out comes a tiny larva, a little cream-colored worm smaller than a grain of rice, and that is the thing that eats your clothes. That is the thing chewing the holes. And here is what it eats. It eats a thing called keratin, which is the protein in animal fibers: wool, cashmere, silk, fur, feathers. That is why moths never touch your cotton shirts or your polyester, but they will destroy a wool coat. They're not after the cloth, they're after the animal protein in it. Now here is the part that changes everything about how you store your clothes. Those larvae do not want your clean wool. What they crave, what draws the mother moth to lay her eggs in the first place, is dirty wool. Wool with a little sweat in it, a little body oil, a drop of spilled food you never noticed, a faint stain under the arms, the salt from your skin worked into the collar. That is a feast to them. A freshly laundered sweater is far less interesting to a moth than one you wore twice and hung back up. So half the battle, before we ever talk about cedar, is this: never ever store a wool garment dirty. The moth is hunting for the meal you left on the fabric. All right, now you know your enemy. It is not the moth in the air, it is the egg on the collar and the larva that hatches from it. So let me tell you about the wood and how it stops that whole cycle cold. Cedar, and I mean the real aromatic red cedar, the kind with the reddish heart and the smell you know the second you breathe it in. Cedar is full of natural oils. Those oils are the whole secret. They are what give it that clean, warm, woody smell. And to a moth, those same oils are a wall. The scent that you find pleasant, a moth finds hostile. An adult moth looking for a place to lay her eggs will not choose a space thick with cedar oil. She turns away. And in a small, closed, tightly sealed space, where those oils build up in the air to a real concentration, they do more than turn her away. They will actually kill the young larvae before they can grow. The oils are that strong in a sealed chest. And notice what that means, because it is the whole reason people chose cedar over poison for 300 years. That pleasant smell you enjoy is the exact same thing protecting your clothes. It is not a perfume sprayed over a poison. The smell is the protection, a harmless oil from a tree doing the work. Compare that to a mothball, where the smell is a toxic vapor, and every breath of it is a breath of the poison itself. With cedar, you can breathe deep and enjoy it. That is the difference between a plant and a poison. Now, here is where I have to be honest with you, because this is exactly where most folks go wrong, and then swear that cedar is useless. Cedar only works in a closed, sealed space. That is the rule, and there are no exceptions to it. A cedar chest works because it is a tight box, and the oils build up inside it. A cedar-lined closet works if that closet stays shut. But those little cedar blocks and cedar hangers that people buy and hang on an open rod in an open closet, I will tell you plainly, they do almost nothing. The room is far too big and too open for the oils to ever reach a concentration that troubles a moth. Folks hang 3 little cedar blocks in a walk-in closet, lose a sweater anyway, and decide the old way is a myth. It was never the wood that failed them. It was the open door. And there is a second honest thing you must know. Cedar is a guard, not a cure. It keeps the moths from moving in. It does not wipe out an infestation that has already taken hold. If you already have larvae actively chewing through a garment, cedar alone will not save it. For that, you have to deal with what is already there first. and I will tell you how in just a minute, and then cedar keeps the trouble from ever coming back. Do not put an infested sweater in a cedar chest and expect the chest to fix it. It will not. The chest protects what is clean. It does not rescue what is already lost. So here is exactly how you do this right, the way my grandmother did it, in the proper order. First, you clean everything. Every wool, every cashmere, every good winter garment gets washed or cleaned before it goes into storage. Because remember, the moth is hunting for the sweat and the oils, and a clean garment is a poor meal. This one step alone will save you more clothes than anything else. Second, if you suspect any garment already has eggs or larvae in it, you kill them before storing. The old way, and still the best way, is cold. Seal the garment in a bag and put it in your freezer for 3 or 4 days, then let it warm and put it back in the freezer for another 3 or 4 days. That deep cold kills the eggs and the larvae both. That is how you deal with what is already there. Third, you store everything in a sealed space, and this is where the cedar comes in. A real cedar chest is best if you have one or can find one, and you can find them at estate sales and auctions for far less than you would think, because most folks do not know what they are worth. If you do not have a chest, a large sealable tote or a garment bag that actually closes will do, and you put cedar inside it, cedar blocks, or a cloth bag of cedar shavings tucked among the clothes. The tighter the container, the better the cedar works, because the oils stay concentrated inside instead of drifting off into the room. And that is the whole method. Clean clothes, killed eggs, and cedar in a sealed space. Do those 3 things together, and the moths simply cannot get a foothold. Cedar is not a lone hero. It is the last piece of a simple, honest system that has protected wool for centuries. Now let me tell you how to bring an old cedar chest back to life, because this is the thing that surprises people most. If you have your grandmother's cedar chest, or you find one at a sale and you open it up and it does not smell like much of anything anymore, do not think it is used up. It is not. Over the years, the surface of the wood oxidizes and the scent fades, but the oils are still down in the wood. All you have to do is wake them up. Take a piece of fine sandpaper and lightly sand the inside of the chest, just the raw wood, until you see fresh wood and you smell that cedar smell come roaring back. That is it. You have just renewed a 100-year-old chest in 10 minutes. And for cedar blocks that have gone quiet, the same idea. A light sanding brings the scent back, or a drop or 2 of pure cedar oil. You never need to buy a new cedar. You just refresh the old. That is the beauty of it. A cedar chest is not a thing you use up and replace. It is a thing you keep for 100 years and hand to your grandchildren. Let me tell you what taught me all of this, because I did not always know it. Years back, before I understood a word of what I have just told you, I lost my good winter coat, a heavy wool coat that had cost me more than I care to admit, to moths in a single season. I had hung it in the closet at the end of winter the way anybody would, and I had even hung one of those little store-bought cedar blocks on the rod right beside it, feeling clever about it, thinking that was surely enough. When I pulled that coat out the next fall, the elbows were riddled with holes and the collar was chewed half through. And I will be honest with you, I was angry at the cedar. I decided the old way was a fairy tale, a bit of nonsense my grandmother believed, but an older man in my community set me straight, and he did it by asking me 2 questions. He asked me first, was the coat clean when you put it away? It was not. I had worn it hard all winter and hung it up with the whole season's sweat and grime still in it. And he asked me second, was that closet sealed tight, or was that little cedar block just dangling in open air? Open air, of course. The door was open half the day. And then he told me exactly what I have just told you, that the moth went straight for the salt and the oils in that dirty coat, and that 3 little blocks of cedar hanging in an open closet never had the faintest chance of stopping her. The oils could never build up in all that open space. It was not the wood that failed. It was me. The next year, I did it his way, to the letter. I cleaned every coat, laid them in a sealed chest with a good handful of cedar shavings tucked among them, and from that year to this one, I have not lost a single garment to a moth. So when I tell you the whole of it, the cleaning, the sealing, and only then the cedar, I am not being fussy. I am telling you the part that cost me a good coat to learn, so that it does not have to cost you one too. Now I want to tell you the history, because I think it matters, and because it explains everything about why this works. Cedar has been used to protect precious things for as long as there have been precious things to protect. Thousands of years ago, the old peoples of the world used cedar and cedar oil to guard cloth and scrolls and even the bodies of their dead against rot and insects, because they had learned, the hard way, that insects would not touch it. In this country, for 300 years, the cedar chest was in nearly every home. A young woman filled her cedar hope chest with linens and quilts for the life she was about to begin, and that chest protected them for a lifetime and passed to the next generation still working. It was not a luxury. It was ordinary, expected knowledge, the kind of thing every household simply knew, and it worked, quietly and safely in millions of homes. for longer than this country has existed. So why did we replace it? Why did we take something that worked, that was safe, that lasted 100 years, and trade it for a little ball of chemical that has to be bought again and again? And the answer it so often is, there is no money in a cedar chest. You buy a cedar chest once in your life, and then you're done. You never buy another, and neither do your children, because you gave them yours. There is no fortune to be made selling a thing that lasts 100 years. But a mothball is used up. It vanishes into the air. You have to buy it again next season, and the season after that, forever. One is a purchase. The other is a subscription. And the industry that sells to your home would always rather sell you the thing you must keep buying than the thing you buy once and keep for life. And here's the part that ought to trouble you. That little white ball they sold us as the modern scientific improvement. The old mothball is made from a chemical that we now know is a probable cause of cancer, and that can poison the blood. And that is especially dangerous to infants and newborns. That sharp smell that gets into your linens and your lungs is the poison itself turning from solid into vapor. It became so well understood as a hazard that the classic mothball was banned outright for home use across the whole of Europe. Banned. And meanwhile, the thing it replaced, the plain cedar chest, was harmless the entire time. We were told we were trading up. We were trading a safe tree for a poison and paying to do it again every year. So here's what I want you to do this week. First, go through your wool and your good winter clothes and wash or clean every one of them before they go away for the season, because a clean garment is what the moth does not want. Second, anything you fear might already be infested. Seal it in a bag and freeze it for a few days to kill whatever is in it. Third, store it all in something that seals, a cedar chest if you have one, or a tote or garment bag that truly closes, and put cedar inside it. And if you have an old cedar chest that has lost its smell, take a bit of sandpaper to the inside and wake it back up. That is the whole of it. No poison, no stink, no throwing money away every spring, just clean clothes, a sealed space, and a piece of wood that will outlive us all. Tell me down in the comments, do you have a cedar chest that came down through your family? I would love to hear who it belonged to and what you keep in it. I read everyone. And if you go and wake up an old chest this weekend, come back and tell me if that smell came roaring back the way it always does. Next time, I'm going to show you what the old folks kept in the pantry to keep the flour and the cornmeal free of weevils and bugs for a whole year without a speck of chemical. One plain thing you likely already have in your kitchen, that they swore by long before there was anything on a store shelf to buy. Until then, keep the moths out the old way. Keep the poison out of your home, and remember that the people who came before us, who lived closer to the land than we do, knew a great many things that we would do well to remember.